business is roll call and attendance. Dr. Kathleen Barlow. Matt Brown. Here. Joey Bryant. Here. John Dehan. Here. Gary Epp. Here. Jessica Evenson. Dr. Sarah Kinney. Here. Robert Lane. Here. Richard Miller. Here. Dr. Todd Shiver. Here. Finay Skiles. Here. Pat Stanton. Here. Andrew Sullivan. Here. Brittany Wold. Here. And Zachary Weiner. Here. Moving to the second order of business, agenda approval. If everyone wants to take a moment to review the agenda.
There is one adjustment to the agenda that I will share when we get to the request, but 1603, the PRSSA National Conference, should be for $4,200.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda for November 4th, 2015? John moves. Is there a second? Matt Brown seconds. Is there any discussion on the matter? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote carries. Dr. Shiver, do you abstain?
No, I'm good. I approve this.
You can't. You weren't here at the last meeting.
This is the
Excuse me.
It's not the minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Moving into item 4, approval of the minutes. If everyone wants to take a moment to review the minutes from October 28th, 2015. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2015? Jessica?
So
Is there a second? John seconds. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions, Dr. Kathleen Barlow and Dr. Shiver. Vote carries. Moving into reports, I don't have any reports. Moving into section 6, public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, moving into section 7, old business, supplemental funding request voting, supplemental funding request 1603, PRSSA National Conference in the amount of $4,200. If there's any discussion at this time, please speak amongst yourselves. Joe?
So I was able to reach out with the questions that we had to Joanne Briscoe, who's the one who filled out the paperwork, and I'll provide you the information she gave back to me. She did apologize for the confusion. What she submitted and what we were looking at last week and the week before was the original paperwork, in which they did have 4 rooms. They ended up finding 4 students who took the other room off of them, and I'll give some other breakdowns of this. So there were some adjustments, which is why the number I gave you is the new number, based on her new paperwork. The final cost for students within the club is $268.50, with 9 students attending, $2,416.50 total for the hotel rooms. They do have 3 hotel rooms. The question that we had about the faculty and the non-student part, they are in those rooms. However, their amount for the room was taken out of the request. So they did the breakdown for the 12 people for the rooms, subtracted the other 3 from that. So what's in this request, total for the nights in the hotel, again, goes to $2,416.50 for the hotel itself. So the original request did include all 4 hotel rooms and those pieces. However, the new number takes into account only the cost for the students involved, since that's what the question was raised last time.
Is there any discussion on the table? There does need to be a motion made to approve or decline funds.
So, I'm still was kind of confused because they said that they were going to be paying for the stay out of pocket. It just tripped me up a little bit. I asked last week, like, what the deal was with that. I mean,
I couldn't hear you. Could you say?
they're saying, it says on the S&A request that they're going to be paying for the room out of pocket. And I mean, that wasn't really fact. I mean, it doesn't say that on the request.
I think they might have meant that they
That-
would pay for it and then get reimbursed.
Yeah.
That they would have to front the money, which is. It's what I was easy with.
Yeah, I just want to ask, I mean,
They're not actually.
yeah.
Any further discussion?
Are there still just 9 students? Was that your impression, Joey?
Yes, there are 9 students, yeah.
Joe, what's the actual cost per room then?
The cost per room, I'll give you the entire breakdown. Room rate is $150 per night. The estimated tax is $29. So we're at $179 per night. Total per night times the 6 nights comes to $1,074 per room. There are 3 rooms, $3,222. 12 occupants being in there, that's $268.50 per student. Since there's 9 students, times the $268.50 is $2,416.50 for the rooms.
John?
So the old amount was 55, the new amount was the 42, so that decrease was due to the non-student, their rate was.
And they had a whole room taken
And
out.
less room, okay,
Yep.
there we
Yeah.
go, okay.
Because they had another group pick up the
Yeah.
other room they had, yeah.
Mr. Lane?
Is it valid to expect that the students are going to pay any costs out of pocket? Is that like a bad expectation that they should have to pay a little bit to go on a trip? I mean, yeah, I get that it's educational, but it still doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to like have a part-time job or put a little bit of money towards the trip they're going to go on. Because after all, if it is beneficial to them, they're going to want to pay for it anyways. So, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like we should force them to pay a little bit out of pocket, but still fund them because it is
Point where you cannot force students to pay or not pay.
You know,
Well, what percentage do you deem rational?
that's what I was trying to say. Because they already decreased it by,
Just as a point of information on here, that, again, as Nick was saying, we can't tell them what to spend the money on or how much. However,
Absolutely.
whatever they're not funded
Yeah,
for,
they're gonna have to figure
then
it
they're gonna have to cover the balance of that.
yeah, absolutely, I get that.
Mr. Lane, what do you feel would be a comfortable, reasonable amount to spend as a committee? Dr. Shire?
Did they list their meals as out-of-pocket expense?
Yes.
So that would be one out-of-pocket.
Yeah. Then you said-
Yeah, there's no food.
A lot of groups will list that as a student contribution. They just didn't do it on
Joe?
And not being here again, I didn't know what was in the presentation. Again, most groups at minimum, they have to pay for their meals for the time and then any additional costs. We can cover registration, but if they have to have a membership to things, they have to cover those themselves out of pocket or pieces. So there is some out of pocket expense that we can assume that they're paying, knowing that they're gonna eat over the course of the 6 days.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have noticed that.
Yeah.
If I was putting this together, I would have definitely put that I was paying for my own business.
Yeah,
Gotta let you guys know what I'm paying for.
it. Yeah, sure.
well, for exactly the reason you asked. Why do they contribute?
Once again, there does need to be a motion made for advancement of this request. Dr. Shire?
Just a comment. We do need a motion. It does not have to be for this amount. If we don't feel comfortable with that, it can be for whatever amount. And somebody can make a motion. We can discuss what your rationale was for that. And also, you don't have to fund, period. I always say this early in the year, is that funding students to attend a conference is one thing. Funding students who are participating in the conference is another thing. There are a lot of our students that attend conferences. I have about 300 or 400 of them just in my department. They would love to get their conference paid for. They don't ask for that because they're not presenting. If they were performing with a group or something like that, that's a different thing. But I think you kind of set that tone here at the beginning of the year as to what level you're going to fund what. And I think if you do it for one group, you're going to need to do it for other groups that ask. I just want you to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Dr. Harper. Mr. O,
Do we know how much they raised from their annual gross sale?
would you like to ask the gallery? He's sitting back there.
Are they here?
Yes. good point.
How much did you raise from your annual gross sale?
I think it was 1,500 maybe. I can give you an exact number.
Any other discussion while we're waiting?
Well, it seems like there are potentially a lot of these requests. It might be worth developing a policy that we pay these kinds of things and the other things we don't.
I
So
think-
that just the application process could be streamlined to, you can ask for registration, transportation, and partial hotel funding up to this amount or something.
I believe we already have policies in place
Is it
that
that
don't
well
they don't necessarily
specified?
specify what they can and cannot request funds for, but they do specify what kind of funds they can request.
But just for the, students going to conferences in their discipline, you could have more of a boilerplate.
Ms. Stevenson?
Well, and as a point of information or clarification on that, the S&A money is dedicated for activities such as this, where it comes down to, and why there's not more stringent guidelines, is that it's really based on us being good stewards of the money to determine within any given year what we have the money to fund and not fund. Anything that wouldn't fall within the guidelines won't come before the committee. So all of these things are designated for the S&A money to go towards. It's just us deciding how much we can give to each request coming forward.
Yeah, no, it
An ex-
seems
an ex-
appropriate.
An example of that is that it is within the guidelines for per diem, for food, but we choose not to fund food. We could decide as a group to fund food.
Right.
Because it is, so that's one example of criteria we put on. And I'm going to stay neutral on this because I wasn't here last week, but also I think the students should decide what they want to fund and not, at the beginning, set the tone. But I cautioned last year and I caution again this year to be consistent. I think, why would you fund this group and not this group?
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be consistent within individual committees.
Yeah, with this committee,
Right.
in this year's request, this sets the tone for
Absolutely. Mr. Lynn?
So I asked this last week when we got tabled, but how many times did this group request money last year? And I can't ask them, but I was just wondering, because I feel like that's a valid question. Do you have any idea, or do they only present once?
Well, and I can't give you an exact, I can tell you what I recall, although that's over the course of the whole year.
Yeah.
So it may not be accurate. Although the other part to keep in mind that each funding request is separate, and since it is a new year,
absolutely.
while as information, we can't necessarily use that if a group only comes once, doesn't mean we're going to give them $50,000 versus if they come 20 times. Each request is going to be looked at individually. So to keep that peace in mind, I believe it was twice last year.
From what I recall, also though, the majority of the students were different in both of the requests. So just because people from PRSSA come twice doesn't mean it's the same group of people that are going on whatever it is twice either. So.
Mr. Taylor?
Andy, what is our balance to date?
For supplemental funding.
Yeah, after we.
First approval went through for, it was just over 4,000, so we approved $125,000, so we still 120,000 remaining.
I think that's like the only one that's actually gone through. So the one that we did last week. Because we took that, we took that class and stuff, I remember. Certain money.
I know we have running balances available to the committee so they know, so everyone knows where we're at currently with supplemental budget.
Mr. Lane?
So, I mean, I just did the math real quick, it's pretty easy. So the breakdown per student for the one we approved last weekend, or last week was $195 a student. The breakdown this weekend between 9 students is $466 a student. So there is a significant difference. I mean, that's overdone.
Dr. Feeney?
I'd just like to point out that the trip that was funded last week was local, so we're driving those 25 students significantly cheaper than flying to wherever they're going. So like just,
And this one's
yeah.
16.
And it's, yeah,
And
it's
this
more
one's
time too,
5
yeah. So, yeah, each trip is different in terms of, you know, how much, like what kind of city they're going to, how expensive their hotel is, how far it is, all that.
Dr. Feeney?
Actually, I'd like to ask you a question. If you recall last year, what the average per student funding was?
Right.
Just to give some context to what we
Right.
did last year.
So I believe it came out to roughly $384. And I'm, in addition to that, working on a separate one that will identify the respective years over about a 10-year period. So I'll come with that in the next few meetings.
So this would go a little higher, a little higher.
Mr. Rapp, was your question answered?
Did you find out an exact?
Yeah, I didn't find the exact number, but it was like 2,000.
Okay.
Is there a motion on the table? Mr. Lane?
I move to approve supplemental funding request 1603 in the amount of $4,000.
Mr. Lane has made a motion to approve supplemental funding request 1603 in the amount of $4,000. Is there a second? Dr. Feeney?
I'll second.
Dr. Feeney seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Stevenson?
Where did you, or why, what was your reasoning behind taking $200 out?
$200 off. I mean, when I looked at the breakdown, they asked for $2,000 from Club Senate, double that is $4,000. Yeah, it's basically one side, I don't know, no one else is making a motion, so someone has
Mr. Rapp?
What would you take that $200 out of in the breakdown?
to. They can decide that, isn't that their decision?
Simply cost they must pick up on their own. Any other discussion? Mr. Rapp?
How many students are going again?
No.
9.
Any other discussion? Mr. Bryan?
And this is just as a point of information for the committee, especially new members, that there can be another motion. However, we have to vote on this one, so if you disagree with this, doesn't mean another one can't be made later on.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? One opposed. Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Vote carries. Supplemental funding request 1603 for PRSSA National Conference is approved in the amount of $4,000. Moving into supplemental funding request 1604, One Young World in the amount of $4,570.44. If there's any discussion at the table at this time, feel free to speak.
It's not this one. I saw it here moments ago.
Mr. Bryan?
I do just want a point of information to follow up so the committee is aware. In talking with Dean Swager, a follow-up. She did agree to meet and discuss, to assist in funding portions. There wasn't a guarantee it will fund all of what S&A does not fund. So just so the committee is aware, there hasn't been a guarantee that she will cover whatever we don't, but she will work to assist with the funding piece.
For this one, we're considering that.
Please keep your discussions to the committee.
Could you pull it up again?
Sure.
Because
Just
we're down
because,
to-
we won't give them
I just asked him something.
Thank you.
Mine, Liz?
Thank you.
Mr. Rapp.
I'd like to make a motion to fund the full amount of $4,570 in board bill funds.
Mr. Rapp has made a motion to approve supplemental funding request 4570 and 44 cents. Is there a second? Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan seconds. Is there any discussion?
So, I totally get like how this is good for our university. Don't get me wrong, like as far like she's already planned going to source, planned things with the bird, and had to apply ahead of time. Like the effort she's put into this cannot be questioned. $4,500 is a lot for one person, but do I still think that we should fund this in some amount? Yes. Especially just due to the fact that, I mean, it just seems like this is good for our school. And to be completely honest, and when you look at the things we fund, I mean, I have a really hard time looking at this and saying, oh, well, this is not as important as some group going to Atlanta or some group going to BC. I'm sorry, I don't see it. That's just my opinion, so.
Any other further discussion? Mr. Brown.
I would like to point out, and she did not include like her personal expenses, like food and other things. So these are her base charges that she's not asking for additional things that she won't be paying for at all.
I mean, because I could totally see this like on CWU's main page. Don't get me wrong, I probably will be. Like, they love that, so.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Vote is 4-4. Yeah. I vote in favor. Supplemental funding request 1604 One Young World is approved in the amount of $4,570.44. Moving into section 8, new business, supplemental funding request 1605 PASIC in the amount of $385. If you'd like to come up and present, please do.
We'd be allotted 10 minutes of time.
Good evening. My name is Adam Dokarala. I'm a music student at Central Washington University, and I study percussion performance. And I'm here to request some funds for my trip to the Smart Society National Convention. ASIC is one of the largest drum and percussion conventions events in the entire world. It's organized annually My Percussive Arts Society has been an international percussion tradition for nearly 39 years. This year it is being hosted in the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center on November 11th to the 14th in downtown San Antonio, Texas. PASIC features 120 concerts, clinics, master classes, labs, workshops, panels, and presentations given by the finest artists and percussionists from all over the world. PASIC showcases in all areas of percussion, which include drum set, marching, keyboard, symphonic, orchestral, world, recreational, education, music technology, and new music. The convention's International Drum and Percussion Expo displays 120 exhibitors showcasing the latest percussion instruments, gear, publications, and services. Every day there will be a clinic on the importance of health and awareness, focusing on the physical awareness and mental approach to playing percussion. Percussion requires relentless independence, focus, and a healthy technique. This clinic will be educating musicians on how to approach their playing in a relaxed and comfortable manner, and how to overcome performance anxiety and mental performance obstacles. Every day from approximately around 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. there will be non-stop performances, clinics, workshops, labs, and discussions to attend. Performances will vary from solos to full percussion ensembles performed by featured percussion ensembles from different universities from around the nation and independent groups from around the world. Exhibits will include manufacturers and publishers showcasing demos and information about new and upcoming products. There will also be an opportunity to learn about products, how they are made, and to ask questions about their products or services. I am registered for PASIC as a student, and I will be representing Central Washington University as a music student, as a percussion club member, and as part of this Central Washington University percussion studio. PASIC will provide me with an in-depth learning experience about my passion for percussion. I will learn from some of the world's best percussionists and receive their knowledge and expertise. With hundreds of students and educators attending every year from all over the world, PASIC will open many doors for networking with others for future education and career possibilities. After attending PASIC, I will be applying everything that I have learned to my percussion studies at school, my teachings, my future career goals, and performances. S&A funds will help me cover hotel costs and my PASIC registration ticket, and I will be paying for like miscellaneous things like food and taxi fares personally. So, thanks for listening.
Does the committee have any questions for Mr. Wayne?
Would you be opening to presenting at Source this year? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally don't know much about music in general.
Yeah.
So I would find that interesting.
Yeah.
Would you be open to it?
When is it?
It's at the end of the year.
End of the year.
May.
Possibly. That is definitely a possibility. Yeah.
Stevenson?
How would this impact like other students?
At Central, like in the music department, I will be taking notes, and I will be talking, I will be able to ask questions to all the artists. So I'll be able to bring that information. Like, we have a percussion studio every week for about an hour, and I'll be presenting my experience that I had at PASIC, and I will be sharing it with everybody. And I think that would definitely help the entire studio get a taste of what I experienced. So.
If you don't decide to present at Source, how will your experience there affect students that aren't involved in the music department?
Not sure how to answer that.
Mr. Wayne?
So I'm curious as to how you decided to go on this trip solo instead of being with a group. Or
Yeah. So it is pretty expensive, and for the whole studio to go, it's about 15, 16 people. It's a lot, and it is during the school year, so there'll be, people will be missing classes. You know, some people are ed majors, so they have a lot more classes, like the education classes, and it would just be a lot of money. But our professor does encourage all of the students to attend basic at least once in their lifetime, whether it's before they come to college, after they go to college, during college. I just thought, you know, I should go this year. So,
Mr. Brown?
Did you ask any other students if they wanted to join the trip with you?
I did ask some other students. They weren't interested this year. There is one other student going this year. He is funded separately because he will be there representing a company, actually a local company here in Washington, Issaquah, Amy Putnam Mallets, and he was her student, and he is going to be representing her company there, so he has his separate fundings.
Mr. Ed?
Have you done any, fundraising, or will you have done any fundraising for this year?
I haven't done really any fundraising, but I have been working. I did do 2 big orchestra workshops over the summer, and I did have some funding for that. So now I'm just looking for whatever help I can get from the school, and then just whatever, as much as I can work. So.
Mr. Dean?
Are we voting on this tonight? You can see starting next week.
We can expedite the process.
It is not on the agenda, but we can vote to do that.
Ms. Stevenson?
Just a question for you. For the basic registration, is this just the registration fee, or is that like a lifetime membership as well?
No, the PAS membership is completely different from the basic registration. The registration ticket is for the 4-day pass, which I purchased earlier.
Any further discussion?
Did you request anybody from the music department?
I didn't because I'm asking for personal funds. The music department only helps with studio funds, like say the percussion studio was going somewhere, they could get some aid from the music department. But,
Mr. Schweiner?
So you have our request amount of $385 and for S&A, and then SAS for $300, which makes a total of $685. On your expense, on your expense sheet, you have $732 minus the $60 for personal expenses, which brings you to $672. So it looks like you're asking for an extra $13. I'm just saying.
yeah, I haven't paid for my hotel yet, and they didn't give me like the full amount after taxes, so that's why.
Mr. Lane?
Where are you staying?
Red Roof Plus Hotel. It's 2 blocks from the convention center. I searched a long time for the cheapest hotel I could find, and as close as I could.
Yeah,
To the convention center.
I've stayed, I've gone where you're going.
Yeah. So.
Go to the Riverwalk.
Any further discussion? Ms. Stevenson?
Can I make a motion now to vote on this tonight, or that'd be later?
You can make a motion to vote on this.
Can I make a motion to vote on supplemental funding request 1605 tonight on the basis that we don't have a meeting next week and it's
Mr. Lane?
Second.
It is moved and seconded that we vote on supplemental funding request 1605 this evening. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Dr. Shiver, Pat Stanton, and Dr. Finley. And so moving into, now a motion needs to be made to approve supplemental funding request 1605, or a discussion for supplemental funding request 1605.
I would like to entertain a motion to,
Point of order, you don't entertain a motion.
well, I would like to make a, my bad, I would like to make a motion for supplemental funding request 1605, basic, and the full amount of $385.
Jessica?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve supplemental funding request 1605 in the amount of $385. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing vote carries, 2 abstentions. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. Is that it?
Yeah, source.
It's a contingency still.
Carrying on with new business, we're moving into S&A guidelines review. So I talked to Joey and Andy about this maybe 2 weeks ago now, where I think we'd like to establish a subcommittee so that we can establish new guidelines that overview changes in our previous or soon-to-be previous guidelines, such as making changes to board of directors. It references the new student government that was established over 2 years ago now. Just didn't have the time to do it last year, and I think now would be a proper time. If anybody would like to step up as the chair of that subcommittee, they can do that now.
And just to share with what the policies say, or anytime we're making a review that's going to come up, if we do have a subcommittee that will be bringing it forward, since the subcommittee is going to be bringing it forward for the general body, we can have the committee, it doesn't need everyone there for this. However, subcommittees have to consist of 3 student members, 1 faculty member, the administrative member, of which we have 1, the BOD, again, which we have to change this in here, executive vice president, as well as the dean of student success or designee, which means the 3 of us will automatically have to be on this committee.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, all right. That's good.
And then we would need 3 students and 1 faculty member. Yes, yes.
The chair will establish the time and meeting places of those.
I would commit, but if I don't have
So first, we need to establish a subcommittee and establish a purpose for that subcommittee. So if there's a need, if there's a motion made, we can establish that subcommittee now. All right, I entertain that we create a subcommittee to review service and activities guidelines, and I would nominate John Dehan as the chair of the subcommittee.
Second.
Point of order. Mr. Williams moves. Is there a second? Zach seconds. Any discussion?
So, what would be basically housekeeping?
Right. It's housekeeping items to review service and activities guidelines from the past and make changes as necessary.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, the real intent and purpose is for the committee to review this document of 8 pages and to make any track changes or suggestions. Mostly what we're needing, absolutely needing, is updates on things such as it still has ASCW BOD listed in there, and so updating some of the verbiage, but also any suggestions the committee may have in terms of process and procedures moving forward.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Go. Okay. All right. Motion carries.
So we need 3 more people.
Can they have discussion?
They can, yeah.
All right. Dehan, if you'd like to establish a time and place, or get back to, or ask who would like to be a part of the subcommittee
I mean,
beyond
whoever
3
would-
required.
I can do a doodle poll and go from there. So I doodle poll. We got Zach, Rob, and Gary. All right.
Step up, guys. Come for my job.
I'll send out an email.
You can have
It's
it.
like a big timesheet. What time do they open? So I go, I'm just gonna read up on time.
On your little order. What order?
John.
Oh, and a faculty member.
And there's three.
Are there any faculty members in here?
They're all students all of a sudden.
What type of faculty?
Not an RA.
Gary trying to step up in the faculty position.
They'll be a lot shorter than S&A meetings. I'll wait to do them.
It's really whatever the chair sets up.
I don't think
What's the
anyone
time
does
frame
this
on
is
this?
survey.
I mean, is this gonna be done this quarter?
I don't think so. I don't think.
It would be up to the
If it's this quarter, I
subcommittee.
couldn't do it. If it's next quarter,
And is this something that's,
I'm out of town tomorrow.
so does this have to be every week, like S&A, or can we do
No.
every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Or a month, or?
The subcommittee
You
itself
can
can
do
be
it.
whatever the
Just
subcommittee
once.
makes it out to be.
Sit down.
So John, as the chair of it, will be the one who sets up whether it will be a regular meeting, whether it will be a one-time. Again, the official meeting part to bring things forward, it could be that there's one meeting and then there's conversation via email in terms of sending suggestions within that. If it comes up, you don't have to have everyone in the subcommittee present to do anything. It's really a subcommittee that's having an informal meeting or multiple. And then you're bringing it to present to the full committee, which John will be the one presenting. And then the full committee will vote to enact the changes or make any other suggestions. And the time frame is based on the subcommittee setting that. Although we would like it sooner rather than later.
I do not see this as being time intensive, so.
So service it, finish it before that.
Wish I didn't do these.
Yeah.
Work on that every week.
Be like a group project.
What are we doing?
We need a faculty.
If we don't have a faculty, then we don't have a subcommittee.
It doesn't have, the faculty member doesn't, oh yeah.
They have to be assigned to it. They may not have to be present for
Right.
it.
And it would need to be a member of.
That is
Yes.
You can do it. We see you.
it. We should see you then, great.
I'll do it.
I'm not around this quarter.
Now that we have our subcommittee established, we will move into section 9, other business communications received. I have not received any communications. Moving into section 10, public comment, second call.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m. in CERT 201 is the first meeting of the Student Dining Advisory Committee. Anyone that wants to attend to see what's been going on in the dining program or give some input for the future, and maybe hear some updates on what's planned, can attend.
You said 201.
CERT 201 at 3 p.m. tomorrow.
Shriver?
I would like to brag a little bit.
Sure.
Our chamber choir was invited to perform in a very prestigious competition in Tolosa, Spain. And they went last week. They did very well. They did 7 performances in 10 days, performed for over 5,000 people. Wow. They placed middle of the pack in the international competition. They were the only choir from America invited. Once they got over there, all of their expenses were paid, hotel, transportation, food, and everything. S&A, the Department of S&A funds helped with their plane tickets, and we are very appreciative of that. They could have never had this opportunity had we not had the S&A funds. And I know they're going to come and present to you to thank you for this, but I just want to personally thank you as well.
Let's hear those stories.
This is just as a reminder, we do not have a meeting next week. It is a holiday. If you show up here, that you're on your own. The next meeting is 2 weeks from today. Again, just because as a point with the 11th falling on a holiday, this quarter will end very quickly because we also do not meet during Thanksgiving week. So we essentially have 2 more meetings this quarter. Just a reminder.
Any additional public comments? Seeing none, moving into section 11, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Patrick Stanton moves to adjourn. Is there a second? Matt Brown seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote carries. Meeting's over at 6:25.
All right.